Are you thinking of moving to North or South Carolina and you're curious what the gun rights are? How do I pack them for this move? How do you fly with them? Can I ship ammo? What are the rules on these things? Hey, stay tuned. On this episode, we're gonna cover some basic rights from North and South Carolina and best tips for moving with your guns. We'll see you there. Welcome to my channel, Everything Living in Charlotte. Like I said, today's episodes, we're gonna cover some simple gun rights and rules and how to travel with your firearms safely and legally. Here with me is a good friend of mine, Trevor Higgins here from Fairway Independent Mortgage. And if you didn't know, my name's Joe McIntosh with eXp Realty, and every day we help people just like you buy and sell houses. So without further ado, let's get into, hey, I'm moving. I found the perfect house. How do I get my best weapon there with me? We're gonna fly. If you're flying, there's a few things you need to know. First, what does it have to be, Trevor?
Unloaded.
Hey, I know that seems kind of crazy, but if you're one of those guys you carry concealed all the time, you've always got your weapon on you, you might forget, oh man, I didn't unload my weapon. So just double check before you leave for the airport. Make sure you're unloaded and make sure your what is out?
Magazine.
Hey. 2, don't show up to the airport with it on your hip or carried concealed, all right? Come to the airport with it in your checked bag that you're going to check in a locked hard case. A locked hard case with just your firearm.
That's right. We don't want any ammunition in the same container as your weapon. We want to make sure those are separate. Most importantly, make sure you declare it when you check your bag.
Now, when it comes to declaring it, I beg you, please do not get an attitude with the man or woman who is at the desk. They may not be up to date on the newest rules, and nobody is going to help you if you're mean. Okay? So have the rules, know them, and maybe they have to go get a manager. That's all right. This is going to add a little more time to your trip. Let's be good stewards of gun rights, and let's not be a mean person. I want my guns all the time. We're not helping our case here. With ammo has to go in a separate container, which is kind of nice. When I used to fly earlier in my military career, I could only fly with my weapon, and when I got to where I was going, I had to buy ammo. So I usually donated a box of 9mm to one of my friends where I was, or you just find a field and mag dump it. Funny story, we're in Nevada, my wife's flying, and we had been shooting quite a bit, and we had just flown not long before. I, lo and behold, had a random bullet in one of her bags. She didn't know it, she didn't declare it. She got to go to the back room, get a scolding, ask the questions, and she then finds a 9mm bullet left in a bag. It was kind of harmless mistake on my part, so don't be that guy. It's not funny. I didn't do it on purpose, and my wife wasn't pleased. She missed her flight. So I'll cover it again. Weapons in a locked hard container. For pistols, same thing. For rifles in a locked hard container. Yes, by now, most people know what a rifle case looks for. I know it's kind of hard to make them blend in, but if you do have one of those really cool guitar cases like Antonio Banderas does, I'd love to see it. That's pretty cool. So there's flying. Simple tips for flying. If you get to the airport and for whatever reason, hey, you haven't unloaded or you've got a spare round, probably gonna confiscate it, okay? It's got to be in a case that is made to carry ammo and enclosed on all sides. No, you cannot tinfoil wrap your bullets. I think you're gonna fly with them. That isn't gonna work.
And just a quick reminder, again, make sure you check your airport, your airline, and TSA regulations. At the time of this video, these are the regulations, but those laws can always change. So make sure you check it out, call ahead, and understand what's going on and the process that the airport you'll be flying in and out of has for firearms and ammunition.
Yes, perfect. So now we know how to fly with weapons. And one thing, there's no rules, nothing printed in black and white on how many weapons you can fly with. Just, hey, if they lose them, some of that's gonna be on you. So you decide how much you trust the airlines with all of your firearms. 2, so hey, you're moving, the movers are coming. It's an exciting time.
Where are we going?
You've spent all this time to put everything in boxes, and you're like, oh, I've got my favorite weapon. Will the movers move it? What are the laws on that?
Great question. So they technically will, but you kind of want to disguise it. Pretty sure transporting firearms can be illegal.
It's not necessarily illegal. The moving companies will move your firearms. Do not mark your container boom boom box, death machine, killer of all zombies.
All my guns.
All my guns. It's illegal. And like I said, hey, I know it's kind of hard to disguise rifle at this point. Rifles, shotguns, long guns, pretty much anything bigger than this. At this point, most people know, that's a gun case. Very true. But put your gun case inside a big box and maybe mark that box gardening tools for your rifles. And maybe mark your box with pistols as kitchen utensils. Because when you move, your stuff does not go onto that truck and directly to your next home. Most likely it's gonna go onto that moving truck and then into a warehouse. And who knows who has access to everything in there. You don't want random warehouse employees walking by your stuff and saying, I wonder what the death machine killer of all zombies is. Maybe I'd like to see it. And now you're missing weapons. And again, it's illegal. Do not mark them as guns, as weapons, as ammo, as any of that. Put a very oblivious name on it. Gardening tools, kitchen utensils. 2, the moving companies will not move your ammo. So if you've got lots of guns and you're a collector, I love it. I like guns. People I know connect lots of guns. We've got a few ourselves. But if you also have loads and loads of ammo, the moving companies will not move your ammo. Say what? So they won't move my ammo? How are we supposed to get my ammo down to North and South Carolina?
Great question. You can actually ship it to yourself.
So USPS or FedEx will ship your ammo. They'll ship up to 66.6 pounds. That might get expensive depending on how much ammo you have. Now, could you hide ammo in your stuff that the moving truck has? Sure. Will they find it? Maybe. Do you want to risk you not getting all of your household goods because you wanted to hide some ammo in your moving stuff? And you get to where you're going and all of a sudden your wife doesn't have her couch, you don't have the things you need for the kids to start school and everything else for day-to-day life because they said, we're not doing it. Kind of not worth it anymore.
Not worth it at all.
So you can ship your ammo. You can ship all your guns with the moving people. Ammo, they will not ship. So you can USPS it, you can FedEx it, or drive it down yourself. The moving companies also won't move paint, kerosene, gas, any other basically hazmat. And you know, this might small stories in the military, when we go to a gun range, we don't just get to John Wayne it. We don't just arm up, put our stuff in our trucks and head off to the gun range. No, there are systems, processes, procedures, and rules we have to follow. When we move ammo, we've got to have the ammo placards on the truck, and there's a ton of rules to follow. So your moving companies, they're not moving ammo. And if you've got loads of guns, lots of stuff, maybe, hey, they're expensive, they're collector's items, or you've just taken a lot of your time to put the precision long-range gun together, maybe move that yourself. Maybe you drive down. Also, if you're shipping your cars, Same rules apply. Don't put your guns in your cars to ship. Don't put all of your ammo in your cars to ship. The car moving companies will not move ammo. Don't risk not getting your stuff or your vehicle because you had ammo in it.
Now, Joe, quick question for you. When it comes to moving from another state, let's say I have my concealed carry license in California. What happens when I move to North Carolina?
North Carolina and South Carolina have very friendly CCW laws. For South Carolina, you're going to take an approved course, and then they will issue you your CCW. The laws change constantly. We know this is an evolution. Things here are constantly changing. Today, what might be legal and who has a reciprocal license between North Carolina, South Carolina, anywhere in the Northeast, any state. These things change. So I'm not going to go over every state that's reciprocal because my luck, they pass a law tomorrow and nothing is. So please take it upon yourself, be a good gun owner, and double check the rules and laws of the state you are moving to and from. And also when you're traveling, if you're gonna drive down, double check the CCW laws of the states you're coming through, because a loaded firearm in a vehicle, is that considered concealed?
Absolutely, as long as it's loaded.
To conceal a loaded firearm in your vehicle, do you have to have your CCW?
Absolutely.
Is the state you're driving through gonna care if you had your CCW state in the previous, but not in this one?
Depends on the state laws. You gotta look it up.
So look up your state laws, stay on top of some of that. Don't create more heartburn than you need. Moving is stressful enough. Don't let your firearms and your awesome hobby be a reason stuff went south for no reason.
Again, just a big reminder, I think one of the biggest things people can miss as gun owners and gun enthusiasts is making sure they actually get their concealed carry in that state that they're moving to. A lot of times, months, years can go past and they didn't get that license, but they're still carrying. Don't put yourself in a liable situation to cause issues and legal troubles. Make sure you check the laws.
Your CCW for North Carolina is very similar to South Carolina. You're gonna take an approved course. There's lots of them around. Get your approved course done, file your paperwork that says, hey, I get this cool card, and then make sure you follow the rules and regulations regarding that card. So there it is for CCW. It's extremely easy to get in North and South Carolina. You have to be a legal resident, and then the federal laws concerning felonies and rules are gonna apply also. So just double check those. It's super easy. Go take your course, and then please be safe. If you're gonna carry conceal, then please understand this weapon. Know how it shoots. Know how it's gonna jam. Know how to go through your safety procedures, and know what you need to do to, as we kind of say in the military, what do you have to do to get this weapon back in the fight? Next, train with this weapon. Shoot it often. In a stressful situation, you're not gonna John Wayne it and rise to the occasion and be the magical savior on the news that day. You're gonna sink to your training. You are going to sink to your training. So to have your CCW is awesome. To have the ability to maybe stop a really bad thing from happening somewhere is awesome. But if you have no training for that situation and you can't use this weapon to accurately and safely defeat a threat, then you might not be the right person to pull your weapon in that situation. I'm big on gun safety. I like guns, I own guns, I enjoy shooting. But to think about a ton of random people just running around with a CCW who don't constantly train on their weapon and know how to shoot it and know how to accurately deploy this, it's kind of scary. I've trained enough people in the military. We're the military. We train lots of folks. For the random populace to not train on their weapon that they're going to have to pull is scary. So train on your weapon. We're going to go, and also you're responsible for this weapon. When a bullet leaves this weapon, it's on you. All right, I'll get off my soapbox there.
Hey, that's all right. You know, my grandpa always used to say, if you can't clean it, you can't carry it. So not just training, but maintenance of a firearm is extremely important. I hope you know that. You should know that if you are a gun enthusiast, but if you can't clean it, you can't carry it. Thanks for the note, Gramps.
There it is. All right, so we're gonna get into, I've moved. I've got my wonderful weapons at home. My box of boom, my death machines, they're hanging on the wall. Everyone's happy. Walk into the gun store, there's a beautiful Kimber 45 there. It's a thing of beauty.
Oh, love it.
I'm a North Carolina resident. We're in North Carolina. Walk into the gun store, here it is. Do I have to have a permit to buy this weapon in North Carolina?
Great question. So for rifle and shotgun purchases, there's no permit required. There's going to be a background check, but for pistols in a public or in a store purchase, they're going to require what's called a pistol permit. That is in the state of North Carolina. South Carolina does not have a pistol permit to purchase a firearm, but they are again going to run an FBI background check to ensure that you meet the federal guidelines.
All right. Now, I'm in North Carolina. I'll go to my neighbor's house. He's like, hey man, this is a gun. I thought about selling it. Hey, I know you're into weapons. You're a really good shot. We went to the range, bullseye all day. Would you like to buy this weapon?
If I say yes, the nice thing about North Carolina is in a private purchase, buying from a private party, a pistol permit is not required. And this actually just changed in 2023.
Is there any paperwork required that'll show I transferred this firearm from myself to you?
Great question. So I always recommend a bill of sale because that is going to legally show the transfer of ownership should anything happen, especially if you're the one selling a firearm. If that firearm shows up in use at a crime, you want to make sure you have your ducks in a row and everything's documented that you sold that firearm and your legal documentation is shown.
Awesome. Now, I'm in South Carolina, just over the border. I'm a South Carolina resident. I'll walk into the gun store, and again, it's a pearl handle, nickel plated 45. How do I buy that weapon?
Great question. So in the state of South Carolina, they have you fill out an application, and again, they're going to run a background check right there on the spot. Most of the time, as long as you meet the federal requirements, that will be approved in about 15 to 20 minutes. And you buy your gun and you're on your way.
All right. I'm in South Carolina. I walk next door, like, man, that's a beautiful weapon. I see you don't use it a whole lot. Hey, have you ever thought of selling this?
Yeah, and one cool thing about the state of South Carolina is in a private sale, there is no state required process to follow. No background check, no permit, nothing needed.
So I hand you cold hard cash, you hand me my new best friend, and we're 100% legal.
While you could do that, I would not recommend it. One of the biggest things that you always want to do is document the sale of the firearm. Number one, as a purchaser, it's going to show where that firearm came from in case that firearm ever came up in a situation. Second thing, if you're selling, same thing. If that firearm ever came up in a crime or it was stolen, that documents how you received it or how you sold it. And that way, it protects you from a liability purpose. I would also always recommend to get that bill of sale notarized. Just a little extra step. Most of the time you can do that at a bank, post office, USPS office, whatever it may be, but just a little extra step to make it a little bit more official.
Hey, the gun stores here in North and South Carolina will help you facilitate this. Also, maybe you don't know your neighbor as well, but he has said, hey, I'd love to buy your weapon. Your gun stores will help you facilitate that. And for North and South Carolina, you don't have to register your weapons. This isn't TV. There's not a state registry of John Smith owns 9mm 123 456 at 123 Main Street. Not for North or South Carolina. So once you get here with your weapons, you don't have to declare them. You don't have to tell anybody about them. I just ask that you be safe with them. While we're on that subject, are there any magazine limitation?
Great question. So currently in the state of North and South Carolina, there are no restrictions on the size of magazine that you can have as far as a capacity limit.
So something else a lot of people want to know about is, hey, what are the AR-15 rules? Because AR stands for...
A lot of people think it stands for assault rifle.
That's not what it stands for?
It does not. It actually stands for Armalite, which is the original founder and creator of the AR-15.
All right. So I'll let you kind of dig into this, and you can let the people know, hey, what are the rules regarding this weapon?
Great question. So with an AR-15 or similar rifle, there are a couple laws. Number one is going to be barrel length. So the length of your barrel, and again, this can change. So you want to make sure you look it up based on your state. The length of your barrel does matter. There is a process if you want a shortened barrel. We call that an SBR, and that requires a tax stamp and an application that will be processed both by the FBI and the ATF to get approved. The same process for a suppressor if you wanted to go through that route as well.
Is an SBR legal in North and South Carolina?
As long as you have your tax stamp and approval, federally, it is legal to be in North and South Carolina.
All right. Are there any attachments to an AR style rifle? I use that as kind of a blanket term. Yes, I know there are lots of different styles of ARs. There are lots of different calibers of ARs, but I'm going to use that as kind of a blanket term here. This is not an instructional video. I just want to give you an overview of what to expect when you get to North and South Carolina. So as we were saying, are there any attachments or mean guns? What am I allowed not to do to this weapon? Or are North and South Carolina pretty wide open as long as you don't use it in a harmful way?
Great question. So if you're familiar with what a bump stock is, that is illegal in both North and South Carolina. Okay. Along with, this cannot be an automatic weapon. It has to be semi-automatic. Automatic weapons are illegal in both North and South Carolina.
So there you have it. If you're coming out of California and you've got all of your extra things on your weapon to make it California legal, and you're kind of tired of it, and you're like, man, I can't wait to get to the Carolinas so I can just not have to worry about it, you're good here. Again, I ask you to be safe. I ask you to think ahead. Think about, this is your weapon. Remember, you are responsible for it, and you're responsible for these bullets when they leave this barrel. So always be safe. Know your targets. Know what lies beyond them.
And never forget to check state and local regulations in terms of firearms, federal regulations, TSA for flying, and any state that you'll be traveling through. Make sure you understand what their laws are so you don't break the law and end up losing your weapons, or worse, get into legal trouble.
And if you have lots of weapons, you've got 30, 40, 50, or 10, your best mode of transporting your weapons to your new house is probably going to be just to drive them. I don't like to raise any more eyebrows and flags than I do already. I'm on YouTube a lot. People are going to see me. So I personally don't want to show up to the airport with a box of 45 weapons and hope I get through TSA in a timely manner and then cross my fingers and say a prayer that all of my beauties get to my new home.
I wouldn't want to risk it.
So if you've got loads of ammo, cool, I get it. Ammo gets expensive. You're going to stockpile it when it gets cheap, and you might not always have the best containers to legally fly with it or ship it, and it gets really expensive. Well guys, what did you think? We covered a few of the basic laws and a lot of the questions I get often when clients want to move down. CCW questions, AR legality questions. How many rounds can I have? How do I buy a weapon? What paperwork and laws are required? I hope you enjoyed this video. I worked really hard to provide you information that is going to be useful. Again, I'd like to thank you for watching another episode of the Carolina Salute, where we cover everything Charlotte. So if you ever have any questions, please reach out. I look forward to speaking with you. And until next time, be safe, and I'll see you when you get here.